Hey everybody, you're watching Michigan Farmer 421. I'm Clyde, and today we are discussing about the F350 Cummins. You guys are probably wondering why I'm sitting in a cozy chair beside a stove that has a fire going, and in between a nice truck but not working on it. Well, I got a story for you. So when we put back the torque converter and the transmission together, I assembled it wrong. If you go back in the video, I mounted it to the engine and then tried to put the trans on, and then I later put it on the correct way. Well, I already did enough damage the first time for it messed it up the second time and ruined the front pump and the torque converter. So we were wondering what the squeaking was. Well, we figured it out. It was running dry. Front pump, gone. So, a $2,600 rebuild transmission after my mistake became a $3,400 transmission rebuild. But if you think about it, shipping a brand new and rebuilt from like ATS Diesel, which I'd never buy from, we're about break even. If we were to order one from there. We're nowhere near break even there. But, so I'm waiting for that to get done. The transmission guy just texted me, actually, Ionia Transmission in Ionia. And he had said he'd have it probably done next week, maybe. We'll see. He says he's got to order the parts, and then with everything going on right now, it might take a little longer than expected. So a few things I have did to the truck lately is, have everything controlled by a ignition. So I'll put some footage here, I think, of showing off the wiring. So what we did is we tapped the wire from the fuel shut-off solenoid. That's when you turn the key, that turns on to let fuel go through. So I tapped the wire out of there to run 2 relays to run the electric fans. And then I ran another wire from there. These aren't big wires, like, you know, they're 16 or 18 gauge wires. And I ran those. I ran one to the relays and one to the cab. And in the cab, I have it controlling 2 little lights. And then I have them controlling my CB and my GPS and dash cam. I'll show some footage of how I have my GPS and dash cam controlled by the key right here. But, yeah, it was pretty simple. I just ran my wide wire in. I had a main ground. I tied all my wires together, and it was all plug and play from there. When I wired up the GPS and dash cam, I tied the GPS into another port on the dash cam. It's not supposed to be done that way because it's not going to charge. But if we're not moving, it shouldn't be charging because I'm draining my batteries. Even though I have 2 batteries, still draining my batteries, you know. So when doing that, it just runs off the power that's provided from the dash cam to it. So it doesn't really charge as much. You might get a little charge out of it, but not. But then I ran the dash cam plug that came with the dash cam, which is a cheap one from Walmart, but it works. I ran it down the side and ran it underneath where the steering wheel column is. That's kind of where all my wiring is located, and I have it nice and tidied up. But I had a DC port off an old power converter, and I tore it all apart and got those 2 wires, and I put ends on them. I had to resolder the one, so it's got a big negative and a small power, but it doesn't need that much power to power those. And I got those soldered and wired up, and of course that power is tied into the 12-volt ignition switch power, so it works. I'm very, very pleased with it. I now don't have to flip switches and anything. And if I did have to flip switches, where I have the turbo boost gauge located is where they were. So I would have had to find a different place to put them. So, yeah. So that's just a little thing I did on the truck. I'll roll the footage about it. And then, yeah. So, that's kind of going to wrap up this Cummins update. If you're new here, subscribe. And if you like this video, even though there was not much to see, give it a thumbs up. And so thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.